I'm Aaron Hayden, and this is Dragonheart.
Oh, hello. Hello, Chay. And welcome to Dragonheart, or Christmas Heart, as we are around Christmas time. First of all, first question I must ask is, what is your favourite Christmas pudding? Christmas style.
You're not going to introduce us, you're just going to ask us, go straight onto the food.
So, Mark, what's your favourite Christmas style pudding?
I don't like Christmas puddings. We should have talked about this before we went
to
on
like chocolate log or anything like that?
Chocolate log? It's alright, I suppose.
Well, that's disappointing.
Yeah. Well, I'm a chocolate log man, as many people know, so yeah, chocolate log for me.
I like a mince pie. So, this is Mark, and this is Bill, and I am Chay. And today we're going to be speaking all things Wrexham, but first we've got the Solihull game to talk about. We're going to be talking about the Cop and what's going on there. Mark's got some interesting news or thing that happened to him early on in the week. We've got the January transfers to talk about, and we also have to talk about our run-ins, what games us and our league rivals are going to go through in the next coming months. So let's not wait any longer. This is Dragonheart.
I'm Harry Lennon, and this is Dragonheart.
Solihull, Boxing Day. Come on. That was a pretty special Boxing Day, wasn't it, Bill?
Yeah, it was I hate the old cliche, it's a game of two halves, but that really was a game of two halves, wasn't it? Like every other football game, unless it goes to extra time, I suppose. No, it was. We looked. Contrary to what some people have been saying, I think a lot of people said we looked sluggish. I don't think that's fair. I think we were in complete control of that first half, but we needed the breakthrough, and then the second half, once the breakthrough had happened, the floodgates opened a little bit then, didn't they?
Yeah, I think the first half, a lot of people have been quite critical of the first half, but in my opinion, I just thought it was quite an entertaining game. I know me and you look at the game a little bit different when you're commentating, aren't you? Because you're trying to explain things, and fans are a bit more, people in the stands are a bit more emotional, but I still think we were the better side in the first half as well.
Yeah, I disassociate myself from all comments made so far on the broadcast. I thought we were excellent from the start.
Yeah.
I was really, really pleased with us. Solihull looked good. And the first half, I thought we had control. The only time they looked threatening was in the first minute when they broke from a long throw-in, and Mendy handled it well. And from that point on, we had good control. We had an excellent game plan. And in the second half, it fully came to fruition. And we utterly destroyed them. They don't let goals in. But then we came along. I mean, I thought it was fantastic, to be honest with you.
Well, yeah, it was, wasn't it, Bill?
Yeah, Bill, retract. Retract.
Don't get me wrong, I don't think we played poorly in that first half. I just thought we needed the breakthrough to look our usual selves, maybe. But having said that, we were in complete control of the entire game, apart from one or two little periods. So it is very impressive. I think a lot of people might catastrophise because we're getting to that stage now where everyone's checking the Notts County and the Chesterfield results, which we'll come on to them a bit later. But for Notts County to be 4-1 up at half time, people look at us having just scored one goal as like, oh. Yeah, it's 3 points at the end of the day, isn't it? I'm just coming from listening to a lot of people that were sat around me in the stands.
We need to send a message then, calm down everybody.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Notts County are very much at the outer limit of what they can achieve, and they'll do well to keep their best players over January. Chesterfield are playing catch-up, and as we'll get to later, they've got a stinking second half of the season in terms of fixtures, and us, I don't know, where do we see teams taking points off us? I'm not saying we won't drop points, but we're darn good.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we are very good, and maybe later we'll talk about our away form and how I think the away form thing is a myth. But certainly at home, we are just unstoppable at this moment in time. And the fact that people are complaining about the first half is quite something. Going into the second half, 1-0 up against a side like Solihull, it's not bad. And let's say first half, the Solihull defenders were defending really well, weren't they? They were keeping Ollie Palmer and Mullin out and forcing mistakes, but we just kept on knocking at the door, didn't we?
But the game plan was beautifully executed, which I found very exciting, really, when they've clearly thought something out. They've tweaked it as the game's gone on, and then it's been what's led to a comfortable win against a strong side. They were trying to pass the ball out from the back with three centre-backs who aren't as good on the ball as ours are, So straight away, that was a recipe for disaster, and we increased the amount of pressing we were doing. You know, they were playing those little dinky short goal kicks you can do now inside your own penalty area, but they weren't giving it to players who can pass the ball accurately. We started hassling them. And as I said in the commentary, the second goal comes 7 minutes after the break, and the build-up to it was the first 7 minutes of the half, because they just got the ball at the start of the half, and we pressed them in their half, and we pressured them so high up the pitch, and they kept giving the ball away and hanging on by the skin of their teeth and not learning from it and making the same mistake. So we kept doing that really well up to the point where we scored, because they lost the ball by the corner flag near their own goal. And if you notice, the celebration split in half. Some players ran across to celebrate with the scorer, but some players ran across to celebrate with the players who had executed that plan, because the whole team was working on that. And then the whole second half was like that. And once they lost a player, I mean, okay, we then really piled it on, but I think we would have got more goals anyway against 11, because the tide had gone that way. They weren't learning from the mistakes, and we were just hurting them.
Yeah, I think the red card was inconsequential in a lot of ways, wasn't it? Obviously, it was an absolutely awful tackle from an ex-red, which, you know, those kind of things happen. I haven't seen the replay, and it was on the opposite end of the sort of ground for me to have a really clear view, so I don't know how malicious it looked, but
it was
bad tackle.
It was
Was it?
Well,
Yeah.
let's put it into context. Kyle Storer, I like Storer as a player, but he's, how should we put this? He'll do what he needs to do to win. Shall we say that?
Yeah.
Good to the
yeah.
arts of housery, shall we say?
He likes hassling referees over anything. He didn't argue.
Yeah.
He just, and actually couldn't see at the time, but having edited the highlights and seen it from the other side, the ref had his red card out immediately.
Yeah.
All the time that he was getting treated, he was standing there with the red card, and he knew it was coming, Storer, and he didn't argue. He just hobbled off the pitch.
But
He hurt himself more than me with the tackle.
I'm just glad that it was Luke Young, wasn't it? He made the tackle.
Yeah.
I'm just glad he didn't really seriously
Yeah.
injure Luke Young, because that tackle was frightening. And to be fair, the referee was letting him get away with too much, wasn't he, throughout the game? And he probably should have been sent off before that.
He had two cast-iron yellows in my eyes. Shirt pull on Elliot Lee and a late tackle on Elliot Lee. I think he read the game well enough to appreciate who our best player was.
Yeah. And he's done us a massive favour, because he's now not going to be playing for the return leg, isn't he? And to be honest with you, I'm really looking forward to playing them again come January 2nd.
Yeah, I'm trying not to get my hopes up too much, because the last time we scored 5 on Boxing Day was against Salford, and we beat them 5-1, and then they went and beat us in the away leg, didn't they? And obviously we can talk about away form a little bit later. I'm in agreement. I don't think it's as bad as some people think it is. I'm with you on that. But, you know, it's a different fixture. It's a week after they'll have a week to look over how we played. It's going to be an exciting game, but I'm still a bit cautious. They're a good side, Solihull.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, they are a good side, but right, let's talk about individual performances. The first man we have to talk about, I think, and for me, he was man of the match, was Elliot Lee. Again, we might as well just give that award to him every week, because at the moment he just seems to be winning it all the time. He's bossing it at the moment, isn't he, Mark?
He's very much, this time of year, the Kevin McAllister of the National League, I would say. Because all these big hulking brutes try to corner him, and he just finds some innovative way to deny them. He's the equivalent of a paint pot in Kyle Storer's face. He's just brilliant. He's absolutely magnificent. It's such a treat to watch him, his passing, and that pass he played at the end, but Luke Young clear. It's just like flick it over the fence outside your right foot, perfect weight on it. Yeah, that's what I do. Glorious.
There's not much that he's bad at, because he has the dirty side of the game. He will put a tackle in as well, won't he? He's strong. Even though he's quite small, he's quite well built, and he's strong, and there's players that really struggle to get the ball off him. He's way too good for this level, isn't he?
Yeah, he shouldn't be playing this league. It's as simple as that. He shouldn't be playing in this league. He should be playing in a league, if not being a squad player 2 leagues above us.
Is he our best player now?
He is spectacular, isn't he? But then, to be fair, you've got Mullin scoring ludicrous amounts of goals. Yeah. You've got Hayden in double figures from the back, as well as defending like this remarkable sort of Marvel superhero. I could go on.
Yeah.
I mean, as Palmer again was magnificent yesterday.
Would you say that Aaron Hayden is Iron Man instead of Iron Man then?
I like that, but having come up with the Red Baron,
the
Red Aaron, I'm not going to endorse it.
It's all in the same sort of theme, though, isn't it? Red and flying and
Nice, I like it. But still, Disney's Mark Griffiths came up with the red. I can't remember his nickname now. What is it? The Red Baron. Yeah, it's the Red Baron. It's the Red Baron. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's just phenomenal to have a squad like this, isn't it? Lee, you say, there's not very much he does badly. I believe he's not keen on washing the dishes after a meal, so there is that. I've got no basis for saying that. I hasten to add.
That's why he's bought a dishwasher.
There you go.
Another magical thing that he's done.
But I mean, I've mentioned it in previously, but I don't think I have on Dragonheart, the podcast that he did, which has nothing to do with us, called The Footballer's Mindset, in which he talks about his approach to the game, but he also talks about mental health in an amazingly candid manner, is a fabulous listen. It is utterly honest and brilliant, and gives you things to think about your own life and how you live your life. It's way beyond, football podcasts, apart from us, of course, as we are the greatest broadcast of all time, here from the heart of Wrexham in Callon's magnificent Christmas studios.
Yeah, this Christmas, and just one quick thing on this Christmas studio, is I feel like a clothes mannequin. Everyone's walking past and staring at us. It's quite something, isn't it?
Well, for people who are listening and not watching, I think we ought to paint the picture that we're in a shop. You two, the Longs, they appropriate a lovely comfy sofa. They've got me like some sort of 1970s Val Doonican crooner on a Christmas special, sitting on a high chair. I feel like I should burst into song and give you let me take you by the hand and lead you through the streets of Wrexham. And then outside, of course, our adoring fans are massing at the glass. It's like a Night of the Living Dead, but with Wrexham fans. They're just massing out there. As you mentioned earlier, some of them were throwing flowers.
Night of the Living Reds.
Yeah. So it's brilliant having this like studio right in the middle, which is temporary but fantastic.
I'm starting to understand how David Blaine felt when he was hanging from that glass box.
You wait till the high-speed escape from the paparazzi when we finish.
Let's get back to the game. So, other individual performances. Paul Mullin, another hat-trick, Bill.
He was my man of the match. I think anybody who scores a hat-trick and plays like he did can't not be man of the match for me, although it's really difficult. We were saying I was saying to my mum in the stands that Paul Mullin tends to get the sponsors man of the match every single week, even if he's not had the best of games. And once, when he might have actually properly really deserved to get man of the match, it was given to Jacob Mendy. So that I can understand Elliot Lee. That was just my feeling, having watched it from the stands. You always get a sort of different feeling when you're not commentating. So,
Ollie Palmer could have scored a hat-trick as well.
Yeah.
Ollie Palmer played really well. Mark and Andy really struggled to pick a man of the match yesterday, didn't we? And all the mentions we had were opposite to the actual match day's man of the match. They picked Mendy, and Mendy had an excellent game as well, didn't he? In all fairness, it was just. It was amazing.
Really interesting. There was a few people behind me who moaned at every single thing Jacob Mendy did.
Really?
And were like, they were in absolute shock when he got given man of the match.
They must have not liked it when he got the ball from Lee on the left flank, rolled his man and played the perfect cross for Hayden to tap it in. They've probably discussed it by
they're obviously not.
Or his
not
recovery in the first minute, like we were saying, to stop Andy Dowers when he was through on goal, or the constant forays forwards and the long range shot that he hit that the keeper dropped and Mullin. Yeah, he was awful, wasn't he?
He
was outstanding on Wednesday, and then he maintained that standard. I mean, he was superb.
It was pretty strange.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be fair. It was Boxing Day, so how many pints down they might have been at that point when they were making those comments. Who knows?
They must have had a bottle of vodka or something. I thought
or aviation gin,
aviation gin. But I thought Mendy was excellent, and we've missed him a lot. But I'm not saying, just shows the depth we have that he walks straight into the side and Cal McFadden's on the bench.
Hasn't deserved to have been dropped, has he, to be fair to McFadden either.
His family sitting behind him.
What's that, sorry?
Was it Mafadgen's family sitting behind you, perhaps?
Oh, possibly, yeah, possibly.
But you've got to say Mendy and McFadden are probably the two best wing backs in the league.
They're excellent, yeah.
And you know,
Anthony Ford might have a word about that.
We got Ford as well. Yeah. Let's just slightly talk about the depth in our squad at the moment, because we haven't talked about the Scunthorpe game, have we?
No.
Let's quickly touch on that, because our reserves, who haven't played pretty much any games together, beat Scunthorpe 3-1, a team in our league. That's quite impressive as well. It shows the depth we have, Mark, in this squad is ridiculous.
And
we have, Mark, in this squad is ridiculous.
But then, to be fair, that's the second string. And secondly, 4 of them have not played at all this season. A fifth one is making his debut for us, having started 2 games this season. And then you've got Mendy and Cleworth, who haven't played for literally months. So, I mean, there's a lot of players who haven't played at that level for a long time, and they haven't played together as a unit, but there was still the quality to get the job done, and that was really pleasing. And then, of course, players like Jake Bickerstaff, who I don't think would really be considered on the verge of the first team squad, but my goodness me, he was utterly outstanding. And it was great to see a player like that, a young lad, give the manager something to think about.
Yeah, I thought he put in an absolutely brilliant performance, Jake Bickerstaff, and I think we're starting to take the Man City approach of having 2 teams good enough to compete in the league. That B team, if we're being completely honest, would beat the majority of the teams in the league, I think.
Yeah, especially if they had time to gel with each other. I think they could definitely get top half of the table.
We've seen worse Wrexham sides than that side that played.
Yeah.
I'll say.
Yeah.
And great to see Langton back and playing as well.
Yeah,
of course.
that's fantastic.
A lot of people would like to see him first choice. I think that's unfair on Howard, but he's already got double figures and clean sheets this season, Howard. But having said that, Langton's a terrific goalkeeper, and it'd be great to see him up to speed as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have a lot of goalkeepers as well, don't we?
We've got 5 at the moment, so I assume we won't come Christmas and New Year's Day.
Yeah, so we've got Dibble when he comes back. There's a lot of choice when it comes to goalkeepers, and we're spoiled for choice in every single position. But let's round up the Solihull 5-0. We're playing them again on January 2nd. Do you think this is a really good time to play them? They seem a bit disjointed. The fans seem a bit angry with the manager. There's a lot of to and fro in between everyone. Do you think this is a good time to really play them away, Bill?
Whenever you've just beaten a team 5-0, it's always a good time to go and play them. I know I'm sort of contradicting what I said earlier. I wouldn't outwardly say I'm excited to play them, but we're going in a much better position than they are. So yeah, I'm fairly confident we'll do all right. Just maybe not excited, because I just get nervous when I'm going on an away day. So
Whenever I've just beaten a team 5-0, it's a bad time to play them. I like to play devil's advocate because they want to get us back. I think it'll be tough. I fancy us because I fancy us against any team in our division. But it'll be tough because we have a dreadful record there for starters, and I do think that sort of thing means something. And they'll make it hard for us. They've got players coming back from injury as well. Although, to be fair, they played in that game yesterday and didn't go that well for them, did it really? Story being out, you're quite right. That's going to be a big miss. Sparrow might be back, who scored 3 times past us last season.
He's a cracking player.
Yeah, so...
But I love the name Sparrow. It sounds like someone with a very working class accent saying Sparrow.
but in my opinion, I think I've seen something there yesterday in that Solihull team. If we get an early goal, I think they'll crumble again.
I hope so.
But again, there's that away form that everyone talks about. We do look like a different side away. Yeah. There's going to be many Wrexham fans there on that day. It's going to be another cracking away day, one of the few local ones. So. Yeah,
I think we have turned the corner away from home, and if I can use my new buzzword, rest defence, I think that's the reason why it started getting popular, the term, during the World Cup. But we've noticed Wrexham doing it for a while now. The idea of when you've got the ball, what are you leaving behind the ball to protect you from counter-attacks? And since we brought in Tunnicliffe, that back 3 is more stable. We're less vulnerable to counter-attacks. O'Connor helps with that, I think, as well. And I think that's a big part of what we've cracked, plus the fact that Lee actually puts in a terrific shift in that midfield position. Our balance is right now. And we started that at Boreham Wood. And I feel that since then our away performances have been similar to the home performances. Not, we've had a couple of draws, okay, but it's been solid. And if you look at Tunnicliffe, he's played 14 games, I think now, and we haven't lost yet.
Well,
2 draws.
I was going to say, to be honest, I think the away form speech or away performances is a bit of a myth.
I think so.
I think, look at the teams we've beat. We beat Woking away this season. We've drew to Southend as well. That looks pretty good on paper now, doesn't it? When people are having a panic about that early on in the season. The teams we have lost to is Notts County and Chesterfield. 2 of the best of the sides in the league. And at that time when we played Chesterfield, we were a bit more disjointed, weren't we? We weren't quite at it yet. And when we played Notts County on other days, I think we could have gone and won that if we'd taken certain opportunities.
Well, those were 2 games before we settled on, the team settled, should you say, which often is the case in promotion seasons. And we went at them with our old approach to away games, where we maybe overcommitted a bit too much and we're getting caught out. And that's certainly what happened at Chesterfield, where I thought we started really well, but they took risks that came off and with a high defensive line, and then they punished us and we couldn't get through them. And then, like I said, the Notts County game was just like toe-to-toe slugfest, and they took 1 chance and missed a lot, and we missed a lot of chances. That could have been 5-all, could have been 4-1 to us, could have been 4-1. It was just one of those games, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
My sort of opinion on the way results have gone and are going to go is that people get really het up about losing to the likes of Notts County or Chesterfield, but it's points on the board. If we only lose 4 games this season, and it's the 2 against both of those 2 teams, we'll go up as champions. It doesn't matter that we've lost to those teams. It's still only 4 losses. If you were to look at it like that.
And we've beat the likes of Dorking. Was it 6-0? 5-0. 5-0.
And they were up top 5 then.
Yeah, exactly. And you look at the Wealdstone game. Yeah, it was frustrating. It wasn't our best performance, but Wealdstone are all right side.
They were in the top 10.
Yeah.
They were never going to score past us.
Yeah, Yeovil, that day, it was me and Bill went, it was hard enough just to stand in the stands, never mind play football. That was one of those freakish football games. So I actually think away form's pretty good. The performances aren't to the same standard as at home, because, at home we've got the crazy 10,000 a week, mad atmospheres. You can't replicate that away, but I actually think we're doing all right, home and away. And if people say we do actually sort out this away form, whatever that means, and we start playing like we do at home away, then we are actually going to roll the season, season over.
Exactly. So. I mean, we've equalled the club record now. First 15 home games of the season, won them all. And it's not just the performances and the atmosphere. There's this sort of tangible sense that the players are at home. I know it sounds stupid, but a real sense of, This is it. This is where we play. Yeah. This is where we perform. They know, they have confidence in what they're about to do. It's a brilliance. They go behind, they don't panic.
We've been bulldozering teams at home, and something else is going to be bulldozered very soon.
And my other point, really, like I was saying before about getting promoted, is that teams don't tend to gel immediately at the start of a season. So you've got the 77-78 season, and the first 4 or 5 games when you've got like a couple of draws out of them. The 92-3 promotion season, we were mediocre at best for the first third of it, and then got battered 6-1 at Crewe. But because of that, we brought Mike Lake on loan from Sheffield United. He was the catalyst, and we settled into this 4-4-2 that really worked. And then the Dennis Smith promotion season, we lost 5-1 at home to Rochdale at the start of that. And we didn't really fully click until Scott Green came in, I thought, in midfield. So, these things happened. Last season, we were phenomenal from January. Once McFadden and Palmer came in, they felt like the final parts of the jigsaw. So we've already clicked it. Yeah, we've improved on it already. Look, was it 53 points from 23 games, isn't it? Yeah. That's not bad.
Yeah.
It's all right,
it's all right, isn't it? Yeah, it's all right. Yeah.
So we have been bulldozing teams, and something else that's going to be bulldozed very sadly soon is the cop. So after this, we're going to talk about the cop.
Oh, that man.
Is it that one? Yeah. Are we doing the stories? Or no?
We're
and you're listening
Mr.
to
Producer.
Radio Show.
Very disjointed, isn't it? There we go.
Is the bump on?
Nobody knows what's happening.
Right. Okay. Okay. The cop.
Superb.
As we noticed, a few of the ceiling tiles at the back of the cop. Yeah.
Hang on a second.
Falling
Are they
apart a bit like this
ceiling
show.
tiles? Really?
What would you? What else would you call
I-
it? The roof. Yeah.
Yeah, the roof.
The roof, that's
what
it,
I've
that's
got.
it, yeah.
The
Roof
roof.
Yeah, the roof panels. Ceiling tile. Why did I say that? The roof panels have been taken out, and we were both saying, "Oh, that's quite sad yesterday, weren't we?"
It's a weird feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
When I saw that, like it's just like the strip at the very top of the back wall is missing. It's not. It only looks like it's about a metre, doesn't it? If that. But it just brings home. That's going to be gone probably this time next month. And it just feels strange. I'm ancient. I know I look young, but I'm ancient. But, every time I've been to a Wrexham game, that's been there. And it won't be. And it does feel a little bit weird.
It's sad. I'm glad no one's ever used it for a while, because the more I look at it, like we get to go to the game, we get to the stadium quite a lot earlier than anyone else. The more I look at it, the more I realise how structurally unsound it was, because it's sort of like this.
Yeah.
But I'll get onto it in a minute when we talk about memories of the Boston game. Obviously ruined that stand. But yeah, it's quite sad, but it's more exciting, I think. We're gonna have a nice new stand there, and we're gonna have a 4-standard race course, which we haven't had for years and years.
Yeah, I think that for me is, it would be sadder if the cop was still in use and it was being bulldozed and we knew that was the end of it and we were going to a three-sided ground. We've had over 10 years of it being disused. It's more excitement that finally all these people who can't get tickets are going to eventually be able to get tickets, and we're going to have a nice, lovely, huge stand on that side. I can't wait for it. But I mean, for me, the Cop was where I started going to watch Wrexham games. My first game was I think it was a Liverpool friendly that was on the Cop in '94, that sort of era. Does that sound about right, Mark? Pre-season friendly against Liverpool.
There was a post-season Joey Jones testimonial.
Could have been that.
Yeah.
I was only about 3 or 4, so I can't remember it very clearly. But that was possibly the first. I think it was the first game I went to. And our Auntie Anna used to take us on the Cop. I remember going to watch the Middlesbrough game, and I've talked before about how I didn't go to games regularly until a bit later in my life, but I did always go, and whenever we went, it was the Cop. I got a lot of memories for there. Good memories as well. A lot of bad ones, but
But yeah, the Cop was special, wasn't it? I remember as a little kid, you'd be sitting on the barriers, and at half-time, all the other kids who were in that stand would run to the front and pretend to play football with like Lucozade bottles and things like that.
Yeah.
And you'd just be passing this bottle with this randomer. The Cop, I think, because he was standing, I don't know, in a weird way, you felt more together. For me, when you go in to watch football, I think when you stand, there's something a bit more passionate about it, isn't there?
Yeah, I remember it's weird. And I graduated to the Cop from the old wooden Bold Road stand, going to watch it with my mates. The tough lads would be in the middle at the back, and we were to the right at the back. We were the soft lads, and it was just the 80s. Our attendances were terrible, and the Cop was so empty. So, you could have a lovely little stroll around if you wanted to. It was quite strange, but it's still, it feels like yours because you're there every fortnight. I remember once going down very central, bang in the middle of the Cop, and it just felt, I was like, wow, it just feels like I'm in a different stadium because I'm so used to being up in the top corner.
Yeah.
And Jim Steele, my hero player as a kid, scored a typical heroic Jim Steele header where he'd go up like Aaron Hayes and just bang a cross in, and I was just seeing it close up like that. It just felt brilliant. I always remember as well the games where the Cop was packed, which were often Wales games, and they'd broke my arm when Wales played Czechoslovakia, because we had the metal supports, the crush barriers, and I was in university then. I went to Liverpool, and I learned crowded Cop behaviour from going to the Cop at Liverpool. And there are definite codes of behaviour in a crowded Cop to try and keep yourself safe. And of course, none of the Wales fans knew this because the Cop was never full at the racecourse. And so I was standing by a crush barrier. Ian Rush scored, and the Wales fans just surged downwards. And unluckily, I carelessly had my arm behind the crush barrier. My body went with the surge, and my arm was caught behind the crush barrier, and I thought, I genuinely could feel like sort of like sinews pulling, and thought, this is not a good situation. And I managed to slide my arm out in time, which was something of a relief. But my favourite memory of being on the Cop, by the way, was Wrexham playing Wolves. Wolves dropped down to the 4th Division for 2 years, remarkably. And equally remarkably, we just kept hammering them. It was amazing. We went to Molineux and beat them 2-0 and 3-0. One of them was Steve Bowles' debut for Wolves. And we battered them at the racecourse. And there was a 4-2 win that I particularly remember, because Wolves had Welsh international goalkeeper Mark Kendall in goal. And it was a winter match, and it was freezing cold. And he had tracksuit bottoms on. And it warmed up as the game went on, and he decided he wanted to take his tracksuit bottoms off. He had shorts on underneath, don't worry. But the problem was he was looking for a chance to take them off. So Wolves would get a corner, and then he'd scurry back to the goal line and quickly try to pull his pants down, and all the Cop are laughing. But then we'd clear the corner, and he'd be panicking and pulling his pants back up again, and then running up to the edge to get back in position, and then he'd repeat that the next time. And then eventually he sort of got one leg off, and then we cleared a corner, and in his panic he got his studs caught in the net and fell over, and he was stuck with his foot tangled in the net with one leg of his pants off. And we were just in hysterics, like, shoot! It's the sort of thing you don't notice if you're not right behind it. So that's got to be my favourite memory.
Yeah,
An international goalkeeper being undressed in public. Yeah.
I'll give you my least favourite memory from the Cop. I've got a couple, actually, but this one always sticks in my head. Was Xavi Valero's mistake against Tranmere, where it rolled straight underneath his legs. And it was the first time I've ever been to a Wrexham game where the away stand, which is now where the tech end, where the Wrexham fans are, where they filled both the top and the bottom of the stands, and Tranmere fans are really rowdy, and they beat us 5-0 that day, wasn't it? I just remember it running through his legs and thinking, wow, what sort of goalkeeper have we got here? That for some reason, when I think of the Cop, I always think of that, which I don't think's a good thing, but maybe I got PTSD from it. But yeah, I always remember that one. And then obviously the Boston game, where I think that was the end of the Cop, wasn't it? That was the last.
Well, there was one other game, Aston Villa, wasn't there? They closed it down and then reopened it because Aston Villa were coming to town, like Santa Claus, and nobody turned up anyway. So we went to the expense of opening it up again. The crowd wasn't that great.
I remember being on the Cop, but I think it was a bit of a weird situation because it wasn't quite last minute that they said the Cop was open, and like people just weren't aware, and they'd just gone and got tickets for the other stands. But I remember there was a Birmingham City fan stood right in the middle of the Cop with his Birmingham City top on. And when Villa went 3-0 up because they won that game 5-0, he just walked off with his tail between his legs. And you think, fair enough, mate. Like, I know you probably come to see a cup upset, but it didn't happen that day.
I wonder if it was the bloke who I saw actually yesterday in the Solihull end with the Birmingham City coat on.
There's a big connection between them two clubs, isn't there?
I still say that turning up with the Birmingham City coat to watch Solihull.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be happy if I was a Solihull fan.
I'm not a fan of that, really, either. No. My favourite memory is probably a bad one in a weird way as well.
Who's the optimist amongst us? Just asking, you know.
No, it's just like probably wasn't so good at the time, but when you look back, it just sort of encapsulated everything about the Cop as a stand. It was quite empty. It was one of Dennis Smith's last games when we lost 3-1 to Accrington Stanley. Josh Johnson played and he had an absolutely awful game, bless him. And all the fans in the Cop were just like, it was one of those sort of situations where as soon as a player touched the ball, everybody moaned. It was that bad. But it was raining really badly, so everybody, the small amount of people that were on the Cop moved to the back of the stand, which we always sort of stood at the front, didn't we? Just left of the goal. And Jacko, rest in peace, he cracked out all the old tunes singing about players that hadn't played for Wrexham for years, and everyone just sang along, and it was actually quite a good time because even though we were getting battered, everyone was just singing about Joey Jones and whoever else the songs were about.
And I think we should talk about Jacko for a second because he was the king of the Cop, wasn't he? And the atmosphere hasn't been the same since, has it? Since
No, even when it's
away.
good, it's still not the same, is it?
So it's sad that he's not going to be in the Cop, not being able to see the new Cop built, because he really would pick up the crowd when we were losing. You know, and we was losing to Stockport at home, and then he just started singing random songs. Everyone found him funny, and yeah.
It's important to understand that a football club is more than the results on the pitch, and maybe that's why people sometimes complain that I can keep calm when we're doing badly. But I think it's because the overview is the football club's more than just the game.
Yeah,
it's those fans who make the club. It's that structure, the fabric, the ground, everything.
Yeah, sorry, Matt, I kept interrupting there, but one of my favourite sayings is, don't let the football ruin a day out at the football.
There you go.
Do you think, a bit off topic, I think this day and age people get a bit over dramatic about a loss and stuff as well, because you don't escape it as soon as you go on Twitter or on your social media, and all you see is people complaining about the game and away fans winding you up. You don't leave it as, I remember when I was losing when I was a kid, you'd be like, you'd be naggy on the way home, but then you'd forget about it once you put FIFA back on or watch whatever was on the telly, wouldn't you? I think now people get a bit too over the top over little things.
I thought there were two beautiful illustrations of that on Match of the Day last night. One of them was the Tottenham game. This is more, I was imagining this, but I dare say it happened. Tottenham going 2-0 down against Brentford, and the Spurs fans probably were all on social media saying, Conte is the devil, he must be removed from the club. And then by the time we got back to 2-2, the problem was saying, Conte is a winner. Look at a hard mentality, we always fight back. And then the other thing, Arsene Wenger having the whole stadium at Arsenal singing his name, thinking you weren't doing that for the last 5 years he was there.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. And that's another thing I think this day and age as well. Yeah, you got things like Talk Sport and stuff who love, and other media outlets who love just riling attention and saying things that are going to get people angry. And I think this day and age, people should just, if the football's stressing you out, just ignore it all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it is bad, that, isn't it? I quite right, the whole TalkSport model of we're going to talk about something, so one person will argue something that they know full well is wrong, purely to upset people. So you need to listen to more professional and balanced organisations like Calon FM, a proper radio station with proper people. Thank you very much.
That, Mark.
Thank you very much. 4 more years. 4 more years. And having sat next to one of TalkSport's most prominent reporters, shall we say, for Wrexham's FA Cup games this season, I'd happily double down on this, because my goodness, he was one of the most irritating press box presences I've ever come across, to the extent I had to tell him to stop stealing team sheets and pass them on to the BBC people that he was supposed to pass it on to. That's just one of the things that happened. I had to explain 3 times where the plug was under the desk. Now, I think you'll both agree with me, having been in the press box, it's just a plug under a desk. It's not a mythic quest, is it? It's not, if you can answer these questions 3, the troll will let you the power socket see. It's just a flaming plug under, and I had to explain to him, and he go, it's not. I was like, well, there is.
And he was obviously getting paid for being there as well.
Yeah. And then, he's a well-known bloke. I won't mention his name. No, I won't mention his name. I normally had to say that and then mention his name, but I won't, I'm desperate to, but I won't.
Maybe off it.
And then at the end of the Oldham game, when he told me that Wrexham's priority is the league, because obviously he's at every Wrexham game, and like me, he's a fair weather supporter. And so I said to him, ironically, oh, no, we'll win the FA Cup as well. And he and his co-commentator took me totally seriously and were trying to explain to me, no, you won't win the FA Cup. Obviously thinking I'm some country bumpkin who thinks because Rob and Ryan are in charge, we must be the best team in Europe now. So, naturally I doubled down, didn't I? And just kept saying, no, I'm sure we will. I think we'll beat City. We get City away, get them out of the way first. And I just kept going on, and they were, sort of just kept arguing that
were you being sarcastic, or was
I was definitely being sarcastic. I don't really think we were going to win the FA Cup.
No.
I think semi-finals are best.
Were you being obviously sarcastic?
No, but you have to be. I mean,
yeah, obviously, yeah. True.
I'd argue that they must have thought I was.
I bet they were trying to secretly record you so they could put you on talk.
That's it, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, listen to what Welsh people think.
were you not tempted to say that once we win the FA Cup and get a European place, we'll then win the Europa League the year after as well?
I'm sure I said something about the Champions League. You know? I'm sure I did. I think that one was when I was tripling down.
Yeah.
Wow, now that is something. Anyway, fit to finish on the Kop. It's exciting that finally we're going to have a new stand. And looking at the plans on the videos and the photos that have been released, wow, it's going to be special, isn't it? It really is.
I can see that banner on the back of it now. Disney's Mark Griffiths.
The Disney Mark Griffiths Kop stand. Yeah.
It's got a ring to it.
It's not completely out of the realms of possibility that it could be sponsored by a company as big as Disney. That's how mental it is at the racecourse at the minute.
All linked to a figure as famous as me.
Well, yeah, of course, yeah. Your contacts, Mark. Get on the blower.
Anyway, after this, we're going to talk about a Mark Griffiths story.
I'm Aaron Hayden, and this is Dragonheart.
Well, as you are now a minor celebrity.
Minor. Only, my granddad was a minor, but only in that respect.
You have a cracking story to tell us, don't you?
I'd just like to, just for a moment, everybody, share with you this beautiful bedtime story.
Wow, that was a great seg.
Uncle Griff's bedtime stories.
So, and this is a warning to all of you out there who, become insanely famous. So I went to the club shop before the game on Wednesday night to pick up a calendar for my lad, Ben. And I was walking past all the autograph hunters and selfie people waiting for the players. And one of them turned round and she recognised me from the telly, I don't know, or maybe from my successful, secondary career as a YouTuber, or, I don't possibly from that selfie that Ellen DeGeneres took at the Oscars, one of those. And she turned around and she was very excited to see me. And she said, oh, it's brilliant. And she said lovely things to me. It was very nice. She asked if she could have a selfie. And I said, my gosh, of course. I like, I will never forget the people that I'm leaving behind. So we took a picture. She said to her son, who was waiting for Rob Linton or somebody's autograph, she said, look who it is. We listen to him all the time, don't we? And he gave the correct response. He turned around, looked me up and down, went, yeah, and then looked back at Rob Linton. But she then asked me to marry her.
Oh.
So I explained that, I'm spoken for, but obviously, left it slightly open-ended, and then left. But she firstly retweeted the picture of us and said, I met this gorgeous man. And I'm thinking, yeah, she's got good judgment. I like this. And then she then retweeted it with "marry me" written on it. And I thought, okay, she's quite serious about it. So that was just, just doing a commentary. And then my wife made a comment on a separate thing, it was on the Ask Wrexham thread, on a separate thing. Now, my wife never listens to the commentaries. She hears enough of me at home. And you're supposed to laugh then, we're both sitting there thinking, yeah, she does. and she also never goes on social media, like once every 6 months. And she commented on the fact that I'd had my first Bovril of the season, which is a totally different story altogether, but equally thrilling. And I thought, she's probably seen the proposal. So I made a big thing about it, talked about it, and then I went home and I raised it. What a mistake that was. So, Samantha Parry, thank you for taking that picture with me and proposing, but I warn you that my wife, A, is not happy about it. And, just to say, I'm not joking, she's not happy about it. And bad things happen to people that she's not happy with. They tend to last less time than a budget promise from Kwesi Kwarteng. So just be careful out there. Be careful out there. Her first comment was, she's young, isn't she? And I thought, I've led her into trouble here. She has come up with a counter-offer, which she's told me I have to mention now, which is that if I'm allowed to have other people proposing to me, she would like to propose to Rob McElhenney.
I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah. I see a logic to be fair.
My girlfriend Laura's asked that as well. She could propose.
Would you
one
want,
back then.
should we, if Rob is listening, and let's be honest, there's 2 proposals for you, Rob, okay?
I might propose to Rob myself just to make it a
there you go, hat trick. Nice one. So it'll get us out of a lot of trouble, and for your partner, it'll be a great relief.
Yeah,
I
probably,
suspect.
yeah.
So absolutely. So yeah, I just felt that I needed to share this with you all, and essentially announced as I'm completely open to bigamy. I'm not, honestly. Sorry, bigamy at Christmas. What am I to do? Spend it with the family. I can't. I've got to.
Oh,
23, no, everybody. Thank you very much. And that was my bedtime story.
I don't know what to say. After this, we're going to be talking about ours, Chesterfield's and Notts County's upcoming games.
I'm Reese Johnson, and you're listening to the Dragonheart radio show.
Well, after that bombshell.
Thanks for noticing.
Mark, you've done a breakdown of ours, Notts County's and Chesterfield's games, and who we're going to play away and home.
And it proves that we're going to win the league. So, sorry everyone,
Right.
this might be
But,
spoiler
okay,
alert.
I don't want to
We win
get
the
too
league.
ahead of ourselves because you were like this last season and Stockport won the league.
Yeah, but that was...
There's a lot of football to be played, a lot of
Yeah.
things can happen.
Fair point. But let me fight your correctness with logic. Right? We have got 9 games left against the rest of the top 10. Right?
Right.
5 of those are at home.
Okay.
4 of them are away. And the away one... No, 3... Yeah, 4. The away ones against teams at the bottom end of the top 10. So all the strong teams who are our challengers are having to play us at the racecourse. Yeah, 5 at home, 4 away. Chesterfield has still got to come to us. Notts County has still got to come to us.
Yeah.
Contrast that with Notts County. They also have 9 games left against the top 10. 4 of them at home, 5 away. That sounds similar, except their home games tend to be against teams at the bottom end of the top 10. They've still got to go away to Chesterfield. They've still got to go away to Bromley, to Wrexham. They've got tougher games coming up. And then I'm not convinced Chesterfield are really in contention for the title. I don't see them finishing above both us and Notts County personally. But I that was just my feeling before looking at this. And when I've realised they're running, they've got 10 games left against teams left in the top 10. So they've got 1 game more against stronger sides. 1 of them is at home, Wealdstone. All the others are away. And in fact, in January, if I can just go through their January fixtures, right? They finish off their Scunthorpe doubleheader. Nice. Then they're away to Wealdstone, who are in the top 5. Then they're away to us. Then they're at home to Notts County. They're at Altrincham and then away to Barnet. That's their January. Good, if they can stay in contention after January, well done. But 9 away games against teams up at the top of the table. That's a tough second half of the season. Our second half of the season is far nicer, especially, as you said, Jay, that we are on fire at home at the moment.
Yeah, well, that is really interesting. So Chesterfield have to go to Notts County as well, do they, at some point?
Sorry, I beg your pardon. They have 2 home games. I was wrong. They've got
Right.
Wealdstone at home and Notts County at home, but they've got 1 extra game against teams in the top 10, and the other 8 are all away,
Wow.
including against us. We've got, so like I said, we've got all the good teams at home. The other 2 have pretty much got all the good teams away.
Well, I think the January transfer window is going to tell a hell of a lot, I think, about how to see if Notts County can sustain what they're going through, well, how they're playing right now, because they have Langstaff, they have Ruben Rodriguez, they have some quality players, but their financial situation, let's say, I don't want to say too much because I don't know it in depth, is not as secure as ours. so we can still spend and we can still retain all the players we want to. And if someone does want to come in and spend on one of our players, they're going to have to put their money. They're going to have to put their hands in their pockets, aren't they?
Yeah.
So,
do you see them gambling and not selling any of their top players though, and going for it?
it's a big gamble, though, isn't it?
It is, but if it pays off for them.
I mean, you could argue they've already taken that gamble at the start of the season because clearly they've committed to a big playing budget to try and compete with us.
Yeah.
But like you say, the reality of it, the financial reality of it halfway through the season might make them change their minds a little bit. I'd be inclined to try and double down on that, and I'd be inclined to be working very hard with Langstaff, who's been scoring a hell of a lot of goals, to say, stay, please just stay till the summer. We will let you go in the summer, but please help us to get up. But, you know, the bloke's not young. He's never been at this level before. Suddenly he's getting championship teams sniffing around him. It's difficult for a team in the fifth division to say no.
Toys out the pram.
Exactly, yeah.
Think, if you're not going to give me this opportunity now, then it might actually create some unrest. So it could be a win-win situation for Wrexham.
It's got shades of our 98-point season, but reverse, isn't it? Where we're the stable financial team like Fleetwood were, and they're the less financially stable like we were at that point. And we had to sell Obeng. And Lee Fowler threw his toys out the pram to go to Fleetwood, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely right.
It'd be interesting.
As well, just think about Langstaff, he would have every right, I think, if Notts County said, please stay, to point out what happened to Kabongo Shamanga last season. Where the huge clubs buzzing around looking at him. He got a terrible leg break against Weymouth and was out until the start of this season. He's only scored 6 this season. He's not got his rhythm going properly, and those big teams coming in for him seem to have disappeared. You know, it's a once in a lifetime. At least Shamanga's younger and has a chance to rebuild, but Langstaff is older than him and would probably think it's like Morel, isn't it? When he left us, you know, it's like, I'm getting a once in a lifetime offer. I've got to go.
For example, though, say if a Premier League or a high championship team went in for Mullin, it'd be hard for us to say no to that as well, wouldn't it?
Not as hard as it would be for Notts County, because we've got money. He's assigned a contract extension, and he loves it with us. So you suspect?
I agree, but still, on the flip side, if championship clubs are coming in for your National League players, it's hard to say no, isn't it, to these players? But especially for them, not for us, because we've got. We're biased, aren't we? But but having said that, he's got a situation where the fans love him, he loves them. He's part of a big project. He's on my documentary, and therefore, you know, I mean, he's adored here, and he's got so many things going for him that rarely happen to players outside the Premier League. So there's a lot of things holding him here, and also, importantly, because we have money, we have no obligation to sell whatsoever, and we are perfectly entitled to say, okay, well, if you want to come in for him, we're going to ask for silly money, and you're going to have to give it us because we don't have to sell him. So, you know, I think that's very much in our favour, I would say. So quickly on January, it's going to be big on and off the pitch for all the top sides in the National League. Is there any positions, quickly, that you would like to strengthen in? I know we've got a really strong squad, but is there a certain position?
Backup for striker position. That's about the only thing that I really wanted to go for.
I concur. What kind of striker would you like to sign? Someone who's young or someone experienced?
As someone as close to Mullin as you can get without having to sign someone who won't be happy to sit on the bench. I know that's really difficult, but someone who's maybe a bit pacey, or on the flip side, someone who's really pacey who can come in and give us something different.
Shmanga or Langstaff then?
Yeah.
Well, I noticed, I'm sure you said, tell me Quigley twice too, Bill, so you're after a Quigley, aren't you?
Not Quigley, Quigley, yeah.
You have 2 to choose from.
Do you agree with Bill?
100%, yeah. I don't see any real weaknesses in the squad. But although Dalby has done well, I like him.
He's a target man, isn't he?
He's not the Mullin type, is he? If Mullin was to get injured or whatever.
And Dalby's young as well, isn't he?
Yeah. But at the start of the season, Lee looked like he was maybe the player who would be used up front if Mullin wasn't playing. But Lee now is an integral part of our midfield instead. So it makes sense maybe that we bring in somebody. But it is difficult, isn't it? How do you bring in someone with a quality to contribute who is happy to not be starting? That's the problem.
Or maybe he pushes enough to start. There's going to be injuries, isn't there, this season?
Yeah.
I think you have to go like either young or old, don't you? Someone who's a bit of an old head who can come in and is quite happy to sit on the bench because they're coming towards the end of their career and it's a bit of a payday maybe for them at the end. Or you got someone who's really young who is just happy to not have to play too much and under the promise that as we go up the leagues they get a chance then.
Yeah.
Oh, Gakpo looks like he's going to Lowdown.
Yeah,
We
well.
missed out on him, don't we?
Yeah. Unfortunately. But yeah.
He didn't want his missus proposing to you, Mark. That's what it was.
That's what, yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
But yeah, we round off this podcast now with, it's January 2nd, we've got another tough away day in Solihull. Me and Bill are going to be there. We've got tickets. My favourite Christmas present. Thank you, Bill. Is a ticket to Solihull. You'll be able.
Is that a euphemism? But I'm going to be sent to Coventry the Saturday afterwards.
But if you're not fortunate enough, there will be Mark Griffiths' fantastic commentary that you can feast your ears to.
You're making me blush now.
It's chocolate to the ears. The Mark Griffiths. Mark Griffiths commentary. This has been a bit of a wild
for the soul.
This has been a bit of a wild podcast, but thank you very much. Check everything the media team are doing. This has been Dragonheart.
Hi guys, I'm Dominic Vose and this is Dragonheart.